Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. So this is part 5 video on NestJS, ReactJS using MongoDB CRUD sample. Now our main focus is on update operation. Okay, so let's go to our NestJS application. So for update operation, we require two endpoints. One endpoint is we have to fetch the record by ID, so that record data will be displayed on update form. Okay, that means we need a get request by id, and another endpoint is http put request, which is the actual update request. Okay, so first let's try to create the get request by id. Okay, go to our service file. Here let's create a one more method like async. Okay, so I will name it like get by ID. Nothing but this method going to fetches the one of the document based on its ID value. Okay, and it should contains the ID value as a input parameter. Okay, so what I can do, I will return await this dot employee model dot. Okay, dot find by ID. There is one more method where it will get the particular document based on its ID value. So to this find by ID value, we have to pass our ID. Okay, and simply call AXC. So that is the main logic for retrieving the document from the MongoDB based on the ID value. Now let's create a endpoint. Okay, HTTP get by ID endpoint. Okay, now let me create here one get method async. I will name it like get by ID. Okay, so we know get request must be registered with @get attribute, right? But here I already have one get attribute, so I cannot leave the get attribute with empty parameter because I have to specify some more additional route for this endpoint, because based on controller route, with the help of HTTP request, controller can execute only one method. If it contains two methods, okay, with the same route, then it will throw error like ambiguous get identifiers. Okay, so to avoid that ambiguous, we have to specify the path. So anyway, I need to pass my ID value in the route, right? So I will define some dynamic placeholder in my URL. So I can define slash colon ID. So if anything that is prefixed with colon means this is placeholder, dynamic placeholder. Okay, this is not a fixed URL route. A dynamic value can be, any value can be uh, added to the route. Okay, but we are expecting ID value. Okay, now to read this dynamic value into our method, we can use another attribute inside of the method like param. Okay, that loads from nest slash common. You can see here param. Okay, and to that param, we have to specify the dynamic placeholder name, nothing but this ID value. Okay, and I have to store it into some variable. Okay, like ID string type. Now I can simply return await this dot employee service dot get by ID and pass the ID value. Okay, let's test whether we are able to get the particular record based on the ID value or not. Okay, so let's stop our server application, rerun it. Okay, my server application is up and running, so I can test the get by ID endpoint. So first let's access our uh, get request which returns all the response for us. So 4000 slash employee, right? Okay, this is my original get request which returns all the response. Now let me frame a get by ID URL. Okay, we know ID must be passed as a part of the URL. So let me copy one of the ID and enter here. See, now I am able to get the only particular object, right? So that means our get by ID endpoint is working fine. Okay, now let's write our logic for implementing another endpoint, that is HTTP put endpoint. So for updating, we have to write a logic in our service file. So go there. Okay. So let me create a method like async update. Okay. And here my method contains input parameters like ID that specifies which document we want to update. Next, the payload. Okay. The data we want to update into the MongoDB. So now return provide this dot employee model dot find by ID and update. So this method going to find the particular document based on the ID value we will pass. Okay. And then second parameter we have to pass what is the data we want to update. Okay. Next I can pass additional configurations like new colon true. That means after updating, the newly updated value document will be written as a output. If I don't specify this, by default it will be false. If we return like this, when it is false, then old record before updation value is there, right? That record will be written. Okay. So this is my logic. Now let's create a endpoint for it. So update means put. So let me create a one more method like async update. Okay, it should be decorated with the @ put decorator. Okay, so let's import that loads from the NestJS slash common. Okay, now to this put I have to specify the some dynamic placeholder because I want to read the ID value in the URL. Okay, the record that we want to update. So we know how to read the dynamic placeholder. We have to use the param attribute and specify the placeholder name, which is our ID, and we have to capture the value into the variable. Okay. Next, the actual form data, the data we want to update, that must be read from the body. For that, we know we can use @body attribute. Okay, and we'll name it like employee. So now what I will do, simply return await this dot employee service dot update. So pass both the ID and the employee payload. Okay. So that is our endpoint. So we are done with our server side changes. So let's stop the server again and rerun it. Make sure whenever we change code, make sure to rerun the application. Okay, there is something happening here. Okay, 2 times it was imported. Let me remove 1 time. Okay, save it and rerun the application. So my application is up and running. So let's move to our React application where we are going to create an update form. From there, we can update the item. So let me move to my React application. So for updation, let me create a one more component, page level component. Okay. So inside of the pages, let's add one more component that is like edit employee. Okay. And we know how to create the component constant component name, and the arrow function, return the JSX. For now, return imaginary tags, export, default, edit employee. Okay. So I have the component. Now we have to register a route for it. So go to our app component, add one more child route. Okay. And path, I will specify path like edit hyphen employee. Here I want to define dynamic route placeholder just like what we did in NestJS. In React also we have to do. Why I have to do means once I entered, somehow I need to get the particular ID which we want to item to update, right? So one of the best way is we can pass the record ID in the URL. From the URL we can read into the component. From there we can populate our form data. So that means our edit URL must contain dynamic placeholder for ID as well. In React also, to specify the dynamic route placeholder, you can use colon ID. Okay, this is the dynamic route placeholder ID. Okay, and now let's map the component. So edit employee component. Okay, now let's go to our edit component. So here let's first try to populate the form with the record. So for that, first let's try to read the ID value from the route. So to read the ID value from the route, I can use param, that is a React router DOM library. Okay, and from this I can read my dynamic route value. Okay, here I have to use the dynamic route placeholder as a variable. What is my dynamic route placeholder ID? So this name should be used as a variable here. Okay, now I can directly get the ID value. So from this, I can invoke the API call, right? So I will use effect. Okay. So inside of it, I want to invoke the API call. So Axios. So I want to populate form, right? So get call I need to invoke. But this time I have a dynamic value, which is nothing but a ID value. I have to pass it to the URL. So for that, what I can do, so copy this URL. Instead of double quotes, we have to use the backticks. So using backticks, we can frame the dynamic string. So specify slash and dollar and flower brackets. So inside of these flower brackets, we can specify our dynamic URL value. Here my case ID value. Okay. Then once I read the response, I have to bind it to the form. Right. So now what I will do, to save some time, let's copy most of the code from our add employee. Okay. So first thing, let's copy all the namespaces. Mostly we require all the namespaces, whatever here we have. So edit them here as well. Okay. There are any duplicates, remove them. Okay, that's all good. For now, there are no duplicates. Okay, Axios is duplicate, remove it. Next, copy the useref variables. We know that useref variables is used to bind for the form to retrieve the user entered data, right? So copy these useref variables here as well, add them here. Okay. Now let me copy the entire form. So here HTML I can copy, okay, and paste it here. Let's do some changes. For now, I don't have any click event for this is update here. Okay, not add update here. And I can bind these variables as it is, ref variables to read the form data, and here I will update the heading like update employee data. That's it, my changes. Okay. Now I have to push my response data to my form. So what I can do means let assign the data response data to a variable like data. Okay. Now since name, job role, experience are the user of variables which are mapped to the form controls, right? So I can assign dot value equal to data dot name. Nothing but this response properties I am binding. Okay, you got it. So same way, let's do for all. Job role dot current dot. I am pushing the values to the text fields. Data dot role. Okay, experience dot current dot value equal to data dot experience. Okay, so I believe this line of code will populate our form. So now what I will do, I will add a edit button in all employees so that when the user clicks on that edit button, we will navigate it to our edit component. So go to our all employees. Let me add here one more column. Okay, like actions. I will name it like actions. And in the TDs, we will have button like edit. Okay, so button variant equal to primary. Okay, type button. So on click. Okay, and it will be a edit button. For each record, this button will come. And here for on click, what I will do, I will create a arrow function because it is single line of code. I am not creating one more handler inside of the component. So I will directly call. So here for add navigation, we have written some logic, right? Same kind of logic we are going to use for edit also. So copy that navigate variable and add it here. But here it should be a dynamic value because I need to generate URL along with the ID value. So remove the double quotes and add the backticks. We know backticks how to generate the dynamic URL. Okay, emp dot underscore ID. Okay. Now if I check my website, if the user click on edit form, I am hoping the form must be populated with the data that need to be edited. Okay. Let's go over here. Now we got the edit button. If I click on edit button, sorry, I have given wrong route here. If you see add employee, it is coming right. So path I have given wrong. It should be edit employee. Okay. Now check again. If I click on edit, okay, I am loading form, but data is not coming. Let's check again. Edit API call invoking or not. Okay, API call getting 404. Okay, URL given wrongly. Okay, where is it? Edit employee, double E, one E is missing. Okay, let me check again. See, now data is populating successfully. Okay, now if I click any item, if you edit, the form gets populated. Okay, now we have to work on consuming the HTTP put API in our React application. Okay, now go to our edit employee component. Let me create a handler here like constant update employee. Okay, employee handler, just a convention styling with the handler. Okay, and this should be registered with my update button click. So I can directly give like this. Now here, let's try to prepare the payload. So from the add component, I can copy a piece of code for preparing the payload because same variables I am using, right? Useref variables. So I can use them here. Now I can call the put request. Axios put. Axios provide all methods based on the HTTP request type. Okay, we can use directly them. And here our URL must contains dynamic ID value and it should pass second parameter nothing but the payload. Okay. On success, I want to navigate back to my home page just like what we did in add component. Okay. So I can create a variable like navigate, use navigate that loads from the React router DOM, use navigate. So I can use the variable navigate and specify the path like slash, which is a home path. Okay. Now test whether we are able to update the data or not. Let's edit this record. Try to edit the experience to 4 years and let's open the network calls also. Okay, to check the update API call. Okay, click on update button and here see data is successfully updated. And if you check the network call, see this one. Put request and URL that contains the ID value and here you can see the payload we want to update into the MongoDB. So from this we can understand update operation also successful. Next we are going to focus on the delete operation. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this video delivered some useful content to you all. If you like the video, please support me by liking the video as well as by subscribing to my channel. Soon we are going to meet with new videos. Until then, signing off.